Good morning, guys. You know, it's amazing. The way we think about something can change everything. One of the things I've learned in my life, and I hope this helps you, is the way I would think of the word obsession. That's another word that's thrown around, and often there's a negativity or a fear associated with it. There are two sides to it. To me, it is focused mind power. And to me, the greatest thing we can do is channel the positive aspect of it. So, obsession is a positive, focused mind power that you have an ability to do. If you have something you want to do and you believe in it and it's aligned with goodness and rightness for everyone, you need obsession. You need that mind power. My friend Eric Thomas says we should become obsessed with self improvement. I love this. Imagine we all did that. Hope this helps everyone. Have a great day.
Rise and shine.
It's espresso time.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and successful people don't wake up and go, yes, what another day to be alive. But when you have a morning routine that sets you up for success, like watching one of these videos, it will change your life. So let's start your day off right together. Grab your coffee, know that I believe in you, and get ready for a shot of espresso from Mel Robbins.
I wake up every morning.
Espresso keep me going.
I wake up every morning.
Everything that I have done since we launched the 5-second rule book was in reaction to things that were coming to me. So I never sat out and said, hey, the 5-second rule audiobook has been a complete record breaker. We clearly have an audio audience. Let's go pitch Audible. Right. Audible came to me, which is fantastic. I always dreamt about having a talk show, but I wasn't out pitching one. Sony came to me. In fact, the only reason why we got into courses, online courses, and we now have more than 500,000 people that have taken our courses online, was because Success Magazine came to me and said, let's do a course together.
I remember I was there interviewing you for it.
I hated it because what I discovered is I hate being told what to do. And so, but that gave me the idea, we should do courses ourselves. And so this pause has made me stop and go, well, what do I really want to do? And the truth is I want to go and make the biggest possible impact that I can. Mm-hmm. And I want to collaborate with more people. Yeah. And I want to do events. And I don't want to be the CEO. I'm a terrible leader, horrible leader, the worst actually, because I'm amazing at coaching. I'm amazing at creating. I'm amazing at reacting. I'm terrible at managing people. I am terrible at managing a project. I have ADD. I have dyslexia. I'm a bulldozer when I get anxious. Mm-hmm. I hate similar people. I know we are. That's how we'd kill each other if we were roommates or business partners. But I think understanding yourself is really important. And so there's a couple things that I've decided. Number one, I'm going to consciously create the next chapter.
Mm-hmm. And what is that?
And I'm still in the middle of doing it.
Yeah, but you want to do events. You want to do these things you're talking about. Yeah.
Yes. And I want to collaborate more with a wider audience of people. Mm-hmm. And I want to build a brand bigger than Mel Robbins.
Yep.
I don't want it to just be me. I want to build a platform-based business that reaches more people. Because here's the thing that got me through kind of the loss of the talk show and the way that I think about things that I hope helps if you're listening and you're kind of struggling with something. I believe, and I went into the talk show saying this to myself, because there's a 99% chance based on the history of people that have tried to have a daytime talk show that it was going to fail. And I went in there saying, I'm not doing this because I expect to have a successful talk show. I'm going to put 1,000% into it so that I have no regrets and I wouldn't change a thing. But I'm going into this because I know that there is a skill, a person, or an experience I am meant to have that will help me for the next chapter that I can't see coming.
Your purpose comes from your pain. People often ask me, Evan, how do I find my purpose? How do I find my passion? How do I find what I'm meant to do? It's the number one question that I keep getting asked over and over and over again. And it's a fairly simple answer. It's why I wrote Built to Serve, because your purpose comes from your pain. Whatever you struggled the most with as a human is what you want to help other people through. And again, it's not some physical pain that you went through. You know, I broke my neck in 2019 in 2 spots. That's not the kind of pain. It's the emotional pain. It's when did you feel the most worthless? When did you feel like giving up? When did you feel like you brought no value to the world? When did you feel like throwing it all away? Like with those moments. When did you feel maybe that your life had no value? You know, when did you feel that? When did you feel like you weren't going to be able to get through? Understand that there are millions of people right now who are struggling with the same thing, who are facing those same questions, who don't know what to do. And they could look to you as someone who's done it, who's come through. You represent hope, you represent inspiration, you represent a new model, you represent the fact that if you could do it, maybe they can too. It doesn't mean that you figured it all out. This is where we get to, you know, imposter syndrome. We're like, who am I to be able to do this and have this big impact and have a great reach? Who am I to be that person? You don't have to pretend like you've got it all figured out. You don't. But you know a lot more than what you used to know. You're way further ahead than you used to be. You can help the person you were 5 years ago or 10 years ago. And an exercise I often give people is, if you're struggling with imposter syndrome, imagine, you know, just close your eyes and just imagine that you're sitting there talking to yourself. You see yourself from 10 years ago sitting there on a park bench. You see them clearly. See yourself clearly sitting there on a park bench. And you're in the middle of whatever the worst thing that happened in your life was. You know, that worst moment. You're in the middle of it right now. Could you today go sit down? You're going to go sit down to the person who you used to be. Could you share anything that would help that person? Could you give them an affirming message? Could you give them some hope? Could you give them some strategies? Could you make them feel a little bit better? Could you make them feel like they're not going to stay here forever? Could you show them a path? You know, of course you can. Doesn't mean you have to go be Mel Robbins or Tony Robbins or Evan Carmichael or Oprah, right? It doesn't mean that you have to be that person, but could you help the person who you used to be? Like, of course, if you can visualize that, then of course. Well, then just understand that there are millions of people who are right now who you used to be. There are millions of people, millions, who are struggling with the exact same thing that you were struggling with, that you sitting on that park bench, that issue that you were facing. Millions of people right now are struggling with that same thing. And they need your voice, they need your message, they need your encouragement. They'll learn from you in a way that they can't learn from Evan Carmichael or Mel Robbins or Tony Robbins or Oprah Winfrey or Elon Musk or whoever. They'll learn from you because you've been through it. And so I think there are some people who want to serve just the 25 closest people to them. And there's some people who want to serve the world. And if you're watching this channel, you're subscribed here, you probably want to serve the world. You've got a big mission. Either way, we're built to serve. You want to serve. We all want to feel like you wake up today and today matters. You want to feel like the work you're going to make today matters. That I'm sitting here in a Whole Foods parking lot making this video, right? So Nina's shopping inside. I'm in a Whole Foods parking lot making this video. Why? Because I hope that it has an impact. I hope that it's reaching you. I hope that I'm not just talking to myself because I already know the stories that I'm sharing. I hope that it has some kind of impact on you. We all want to wake up and feel like we're going to do something today that will impact somebody's life, right? That's, at the end of the day, that's where you get your happiness. It's great to hit some goals and great to have money in your account and all that stuff. Yeah, it's fantastic. And you still want to feel like you mean something to somebody and that today is going to matter. So humans are built to serve. Some people want to serve the 25 closest people to them, and some people, probably you, want to serve the world. You want to have a big impact. Okay, well, how do you do it and who do you reach? Well, you're going to reach the people who currently are who you used to be. People who struggled or are struggling with the thing that you used to struggle with. The way I look at it is you're on a staircase of growth. You're on a staircase of growth. You want to get better. You want to climb. You want to keep improving. You, in 5 years, in 10 years, will be totally different again. You'll be stronger. You'll be more self-aware. You'll have more confidence. You'll have a bigger reach, greater impact. You're learning. That's why you're watching videos like this. You want to be better. You want to keep growing. And same thing for me too. I want to learn from Oprah and Mel and Tony and Elon. I want to keep pushing and getting better. We're on this growth staircase. And I think it becomes your duty, your responsibility to every time you take a step up on that staircase, you reach back and help somebody else get to the level that you're at. So whatever you're struggling with, maybe 10 years ago you were at step 1 and now you're at step 5. So there's lots of people who are ahead of you who are step 1,000. Great. You can help people get to step 5 because most people are still stuck at step 1. So when you feel not good enough, when you feel like your mission, is huge, but you're not the person to do it, when you feel like you're not able to follow through because there's so many better people out there than you, that becomes the path. Is to recognize that, hey, you're ahead of where you used to be. You're at step 5 right now, and you used to be at step 1, and you can help people get to step 4. And every time you step up, in the next 5 years, you might go from step 5 to step 25. Every time you learn, you get better, you improve, you discover a new strategy, you change your mindset, discover a new limiting breakthrough, limiting belief that you've broken through, right? You've grown. You get to step 25. Now you can help people get to step 24. That feeling will never get old. We love serving, we love helping. It's built into us. But helping somebody who currently is who you used to be is the greatest thing of all time. When you're looking at purpose, when you're looking at passion, when you're looking at deep fulfillment, it comes from service. It's not that you can't get happiness or excitement from doing something, I was excited to go get my Starbucks this morning, excited for that first sip feeling, great. But that's not lasting, deep fulfillment. Fulfillment comes from feeling like you matter, and that today is gonna matter, and that you're gonna show up and somebody's gonna care. So you do that through your purpose, and your purpose comes from your pain. And the more that you can connect to the impact that it's having, your work, whether you're making videos or content or a product or service, the more you can connect to, hey, what I do actually matters. I'm having an impact, even if it's not the big impact yet that I want to have, even if I know it's this giant problem that there's millions of people facing it right now, just knowing that you did something today that mattered, that touched one person's life in a really meaningful way. That gives you the energy, the motivation, the confidence, the belief to keep going one more day, one more day, one more day. And sometimes in that one more day is the actual difference. Sometimes your message could be the one more day for somebody else, and you feeling like you touched somebody could be the one more day for you. Because the difference is just in that one more day. You've got the heart, the ambition, the drive, the love, the care, the desire to have an impact and make more money in the process. And for most people, the only thing missing is just momentum. Just not doing enough, just not believing enough, just not pursuing enough. The more you can connect to the purpose every day and feel like today is going to matter and mean something, that's when everything starts to change.
Now I've got a special bonus clip that I think you're gonna enjoy, but before that, it's time for the question of the day. I wanna know, what was your single biggest takeaway from this video and your plan of action for the next week? When you watch a video and just get motivated, the science says you have a 35% chance of actually following through on your goals. That's not good enough. No, not for you, Believe Nation. We gotta do something. But when you write it down and you create a specific plan of action for the next week, that number jumps to 91% chance of you following through. And when you commit to somebody else, like leaving a comment on this video, it jumps to 95%. You need to follow through on your goals. So what was your single biggest takeaway from this video and your specific plan of action for the next week? Put it down in the comments below so I can celebrate you. Also, if you want to have more self-confidence and self-belief, the science says it can take up to 254 days of consecutive action for you to shift that habit forward. So I've designed a special free program to help you get more self-belief for every day. For 254 days, I will send you an email to an unlisted video that if you watch it, will shift your confidence forward. The links to join for free are in the description below.
You're always going to need to push yourself. You're always going to need to parent yourself. I'm about to change your life because this piece of research changed mine. If you didn't give a shit what anybody else thought, what's the thing you would love to be doing with your life?
So when you face a scary financial situation, and I have been there, I have been more than $800,000 in debt with liens on my house and a car that's about to be repossessed and a credit card and a banking card that had no money on it. I distinctly remember two very low moments. One being standing at the local grocery store knowing there was no money in the account and handing the card over and just praying in that moment that somehow there would be some technical glitch and it would go through. And when it didn't, I remember feeling the just, shame of standing there with a pile of groceries and people lined up behind me. And I had an excuse ready. I kind of cocked my head and looked kind of confused and was like, well, that's strange because it just worked at the gas station. That was a lie. And then I said, I will be right back. I'm going to go out to my car and get my other credit card. And I walked out of there, got in that car and drove away. And the other one was when our daughter was
Déjate arrastrar, hay algo malo en esta vida, se tiene que
Legs crossed, back straight, eyes closed. Breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. Deep, long breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. Feel that power of you controlling your breathing. That power that's available to you all the time, wherever you are in life. That power to reconnect to your greatest gift right now. Your presence, your being. Your infinitely intelligent being. The same stuff we're all made of. And with that stuff that we're made of, we can control the most powerful supercomputer in the universe. Your mind. But only you can do it. Only you can control your own mind. So let's do that right now, and let's see the future. Today, our time together, let's see ourselves doing the best we can on every single exercise and stretch. For this is not only the gym that we have available to us right now, in this space wherever we are, but it is also the gym of life, where we grow our minds all the time. Good morning, determination. How's everyone doing today? Another great day. Wherever we are, today for myself, I'm indoors. Maybe you yourself are indoors as well too. Wherever you are, let's go. Let's make this the best gym period we've ever had. It may not be exactly where we want to be. We may not be in school or at work where we really want to be, but wherever we are right now, let's do this to the best of our ability. Here we go, determination, here we go. When I say go, we're going to start jogging on the spot for 1 minute. Ready, and go. And as always, we're thinking about our breathing, focused on our breathing. Feeling that power of us always being able to control our breath. Even when our heart starts beating faster, whether it's through exercise, whether it's through something stressful, something maybe we might be afraid of or we don't like, we get to control our breathing. The same way we get to control our thoughts. And our thoughts affect our feelings. So if we can control our thoughts, we can control our feelings. Almost there, everyone, almost there. Keep going. Keep going, determination, keep going. And stop. All right. You can walk on the spot, or you can walk side to side as you recover your breathing. Always feeling that power of you controlling your breathing. This is the best. What we have right now, wherever you are, you've got your mind and your body in the gym of life. And you get to be your best right now on whatever stretches, exercises we're about to do together. Here we go. Here we go. Determination. That's why I love gym. Gym is the best. Grow your mind in the gym of life. Here we go. Let's do 10 shoulder rolls forward. Ready, everyone? Here we go. The best 10 shoulder rolls forward ever. Still controlling our breathing. Shoulders all the way up and around as high as we can towards our ears. And backwards. Again, feel the power of you controlling your body right now. In these simple movements, simple motions, you get to control your body. The way you control your mind, same way. Alright, and let's do arm circles forward, everyone. Arm circles forward, 10 big ones forward. Feeling the joy of our arms moving through space. Alright, and backwards. Excellent. All right, everyone, let's put our hands on our hips, bend the knees, and side stretch. There we go. 5 on each side. All right, and let's twist our bodies. Here we go. Feet flat on the floor. 5 on each side. Really thinking about what we're doing. Really trying to feel every part of our body as it's moving in space. Alright, good. Okay, let's do 5 push-ups together. Here we go. 5 push-ups. Best 5 push-ups. Again, if you got to keep your knees on the ground, that's okay. Just do your best, always. And 5 sit-ups. Excellent. And standing up. 5 squats. Here we go. Body straight ahead, looking straight ahead. All the way down. All the way up. Alright. Let's do 3 lunges on each side. Here we go. Arms out. Still controlling our breathing. Alright, and let's do 10-second plank. Belly's knees off the ground. Again, feeling the joy of you pushing your body a little bit outside its comfort zone. Because you know that's where the growth is. Alright, everyone, and standing up. Reach for the ceiling on your toes. Or the sky if you're outdoors. Today I happen to be indoors. If you're outdoors, reach for that sky. If you're indoors, reaching for that ceiling. We may not touch it yet, or ever, but we're going to reach, we're going to strive. Just like we do in life, no matter what. Okay, now reach for your toes. Again, it's okay if you don't touch your toes, but keep your knees straight. Reaching for your toes. Feeling the pull in the back of your leg. Not the pain, just a little bit of a pull. Alright, come on up. And let's balance. Grab one leg, find that balance, bend the other knee. Well done, everyone. Keep going. Keep thinking about what you're doing right now. And switch. Again, feel the pull on the front of the thigh. Bend the other leg. Find that balance. If you lose it, just try to work hard to get it back and then hold it there. Excellent. Alright, now let's hug our knee. Here we go, all the way up. And try to steady that other foot on the ground. Bend the knee if you have to and pull all the way up. Hold it for 10. always working hard to find that balance. Where we balance our thoughts, our mind, balance our bodies, wherever we are in space. All right, and switch. Just always think of safety too. Make sure you have enough space, clearance around you, in case you do lose your balance. Hold it there. Well done. Okay, good. And let's sit down, everybody. And reaching for our toes, straight knees again. Reaching is what matters. If you don't get to your toes, that's okay as long as you're reaching. Feeling the pull on the back of your legs. Not the pain, just a little bit of a pull. Okay, V shape with your legs. Now reach for the floor as far away from your body as you can. Hold it there for 10 seconds. Okay, now reach for one side and hold it there again. Always thinking about the moment, thinking about what we're doing right now. Experiencing the joy of being able to reach for something to help our bodies get better. And switch the other side. See, you can do this almost anytime, any place. You can work on your mind and your body wherever you go in life, in everything you do, not just in exercise and stretches. All right, here we go. And let's do feet together. Gently push your knees down with your elbows and hold it there for 10 seconds. If you feel your breathing going on autopilot or becoming automatic again, take control of that. Deep breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. Good. One leg forward, one leg back. Keep the knee on the ground. Go as far back as you can. Hold it there. 10 seconds. And switch to the other side. Knee on the ground. Go as far back as you can. Always remembering that you are the boss of your mind, and your mind is the boss of your body. That makes you the big boss. You get to control yourself. You get to use your determination no matter what. All right. And let's roll onto our bellies and push the floor. Looking up at the ceiling. Cobra stretch. Here we go. Hold it for 10 seconds. Feeling that nice stretch in our lower back, neck, back of our arms. All right, and legs crossed, back straight, eyes closed. Taking deep, long breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. And now, activating that third eye, that mind's eye that we all have. We can't see it, but we know it's there. So use your mind's eye right now to see yourself doing the best you can today when that music goes on whatever 2 exercises, stretches you've chosen to do. For me, today I'm going to be holding the push-up position for one song, the first song, and then I'm going to be holding the squat position for the second song, as long as I can. And if I happen to let go or not be able to hold it, I'm going to continue on until that song's over. What about you? You can put on your own 2 songs today, and you can do your own exercises. But think about which exercises you're going to do right now, safely within the space you have. You can do what I'm doing. You can listen to what I'm listening to, or you can choose your own. But whatever you do, determine right now, see in your mind what you will do when that music goes on. All right, determination. Here I go, holding the push-up position. And let's go, whatever you're doing, whatever you've decided, let's see it. Let's see your best. Here we go together. Let's go, determination, let's go. Looking forward to being better than you were last time, a little bit more than last time. See if I can hold it for the whole song, let's see. Wasn't able to do it last time we did this together, or the last time I did it on my own, but I'm gonna work at it right now. Because I love the process of trying to get better at something. Whether it's building strength in my body, building strength in my mind, working on creating nothing but positive images, thoughts, visions in my mind, working on being the best human being I can be. What about you? What is it for you? Whatever it is, just enjoy the process of learning, growing together, whatever we're doing. And sometimes we're going to feel that discomfort. Like right now, I can already feel my muscles already uncomfortable. But then I can feel my determination saying, I get to determine whether I'm going to stop or keep going, no matter what. You too, let's go, determination, let's go. Alright. Didn't get through the whole song, but I'm gonna get right back at it again. Song's not over, gotta keep going. There we go, shaking it up. Not being mad that we didn't get to where we want to be yet, but feeling happy that we get to go at it again. Here we go. Always thinking about our breathing. Always thinking about finishing strong, no matter what. Always going right to the end, finishing what we set out to do, no matter what. Got more in me. I know I got a little bit more. We gotta keep going. You too, whatever you're doing, keep going. Determination, keep going. Let's go. It's not over yet. The song's still playing. Focus on that breathing. Good air in. Bad air out. Here we go. Another round. I love it. I love the process of building our true great self through exercising our bodies and our minds together. Oh, that's the next song. All right. Time for some squats. Holding the squat position. What about you? What are you going to do next? Let's go. Determination. Here we go. Ready? All right. If you're doing what I'm doing, just try to keep your feet flat on the floor, looking straight ahead, going as far down as you can, your bottom towards the ground, and holding it there as long as you can until that music's done. Because our music, you know the truth, our music's never done. Our energy, our determination is built to last, to get through anything. Let's go, determination, let's go. If you're sweating, that's good. Feel your body releasing some of that fluid, some of that old fluid, water. Make sure you drink lots of water when we're done. Make sure you always fill your body with good food. All right. here we are again. Back to where it all begins. Where it all begins and never ends. That source, that oneness, that consciousness, that awareness. That we know is in all of us. That power to determine, to control our minds. You see, nobody else, nothing else in this universe can do what you do every day. In the gym of life. Only you, human being, only you, infinitely intelligent being, can do the ultimate. Only you can control your mind, your thoughts, and therefore your feelings. But it takes a lot of hard work. It takes, first of all, believing that you can do it. If you don't believe in yourself, your mind health, your chance at mind wealth is not possible. But that's not the way it was meant to be. You were born to win. Control over your mind, your thoughts. To have and be all you were meant to be. And that means believing 100% in who you really are. And that is the key to your mind health and your mind wealth, your happiness, your freedom, your success, your infinite peace and love towards everything and anything. It's possible. It's all because of you, your determination, united with all of our determination. Creates that oneness, that consciousness, determination. And that's why I love you, determination, wherever you are. I miss you, I miss being in your presence, but here today, we united. We enjoyed this process fully. And the way we do or did this is the same way we can do anything, including being the best for all those around us, wherever we are right now. So keep going, determination. Keep working on controlling your mind. Because that's for all your health, mind health, your happiness, your freedom, all your love that can never be taken away. I love you, everyone. Have a great week. Until the next time.
Look at anything that improves a human. It often requires going through discomfort. If I want to get fit, improve my fitness, that is going to be uncomfortable. Those workouts are going to suck, right? If I want to, let's say I'm overweight and I'm like, man, I need to take my health back and lose some weight, you're probably going to have to be hungry. That's uncomfortable. You know, even improving your relationships in your life often requires having conversations with people that can be uncomfortable. Like this idea, no pain, it's kind of bullshit to me. I mean, you look at how humans have improved themselves since day one, and there has always been challenge. I mean, think back even to traditional rites of passage. You know, these traditional societies would start with a younger person usually who was at, say, step one in their life, and they're like, we need to get this person to step two. What did they do? They didn't just say, okay, now you're at step 2, buddy. They would send them out into the woods to go do something rather challenging, pretty epic. But along that way, in battling and having those challenges, the person would learn something about themselves, grow, become more confident, more competent, and then move on to that step 2 in life. I mean, you see this in, for example, the Maasai tribe. They would send young warriors out on a lion hunt. If you were able to spear a lion, then you would become a warrior. A lot of Native American tribes, similar thing. We're going to send a person out into the wild without food, water for a few days, and they're going to learn something about themselves through that challenge. I mean, these are, Joseph Campbell talks about this in Hero with a Thousand Faces. Like, these myths are embedded into humanity. So if someone is saying that that's not the case, it's like, well, you're going against like millions of years of human tradition, but okay.
Need motivation?
Watch a top 10 with Believe Nation.
Top 10, I got a top 10. Got my motivation high for my top 10. Gotta learn from the wise women and men. All my life, like 9 and a 9. For my top 10, top 10, 9 and a 9. This one's for my top 10.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and I make these videos because you are probably the most ambitious person in your circle, but you know you're capable of more. And you get that push by surrounding yourself with the best. So today, let's learn from one of the best, Michael Easter, and my take on his top 10 rules for success. Enjoy. Rule number 2, appreciate the challenges.
If you look at young people today, especially so people born after 1990, you see this rise in helicopter parenting because there was these like media stories about kidnappings, really high profile stuff. Now, kidnappings weren't even increasing as a whole, but there was just high profile ones, right? So all of a sudden parents are like, I can't let my kids go outside into the woods or at a park. But by doing that and having that time alone, where you sort of challenge yourself as a kid, right? I mean, think about your own experience at the playground or in the woods. Like, I learned a lot out there. My mom was basically like, yeah, come down by sundown. She wouldn't know what I was doing. It was just, I was out doing stuff. That stops happening for kids. And so this like idea of challenge in a lot of different ways gets removed, because not only are you physically challenged, right, when you are going out doing stuff in the woods, but also like your worldview gets challenged. Think about interactions on the playground. I got punched in the face on the playground a lot. I probably deserved it sometimes, and I learned something from
Michael, that may say something about you.
Yeah. When that goes away, all of a sudden kids don't have challenges. And so now you have this generation where, because they have not been challenged, what they consider a challenge is something like, I'm a professor at UNLV. So if they say something, have a point, and I push back on that, well, all of a sudden that's kind of scary, because you've never been punched in the face on the playground, crazy. Right? So that becomes scary. Like in my classes, I'll bring up stuff and no one wants to say anything because, well, what if someone challenges me? Or like people, younger people especially, I think, are a little more sensitive to a lot of the stuff we're talking about here. And as a result of that, you see levels of anxiety and depression. They're higher in the generations born after 1990 than any other generations that came before them, like significantly. They're up like 30 and 50%.
Rule number 3, practice rite of passage.
We've definitely crept into a lot of easiness in a lot of ways in our lives, and we've removed a lot of challenge. And, the world is very comfortable. And while this is obviously great in many ways, I think that we've tipped the balance so far that we don't have these moments that steal us anymore and build our character and make us more grateful for everything we have, all these amazing things we do have. You mentioned rite of passage with your son. That's one thing that we don't really do anymore at a grand scale, right? And there is a very good reason that cultures throughout time and space have, there is a young man who is at point A in his life and he needs to get to point B. They don't just hand over the keys to the kingdom and say, have fun, right? They usually make that person go out and do something challenging in nature, because along the way, they learn something about themselves. They become more competent, they become more confident, and then they're sort of able to transition to this point B where they need to be able to sort of be a real contributor to the tribe.
Rule number 4, carry more weight.
Being in business is like being a gladiator. Think about it. What sport?
At the end of the day, I'm a gangly rider, but I'm a gangly rider who's been sent into some pretty extreme physical fitness environments and tests. And carrying that caribou was the hardest thing I've ever done. And it got me thinking about what the human body is built for. So if you look at the research, humans are built the way they are for 2 reasons. One is so we could run long distances in the heat. So humans are, relative to other animals, pretty athletically pathetic. We are not super fast. We're not that strong. We're not that agile. But what we are good at is going relatively slow for a really long time. Just keep going, right? We're good at marathons, things like that. And so we would use this to our advantage as we evolved. On really hot days, we would run animals down for miles and miles and miles, and they would eventually overheat because they're not as good at cooling themselves. And then we would spear them. And then we would have to do the second thing we're really good at. We would have to carry the weight back to camp. So we have adaptations like really strong hands, these sort of short torsos, strong midsections, all this stuff that make us really good at carrying. And, you know, you think about how people exercise today, a lot of people jog, a lot of people do the running thing, but how many people are carrying weight across distance as a workout? Not too many. So I traveled to Harvard to learn a lot more about this from some of their anthropologists. And the guy that I spoke with and spent time with said, you know, it seems that doing the exercises and physical activities that we were built to do seems to be uniquely beneficial for us, for our health, for our fitness. And so it got me thinking that we should carry weight over distance more. And I wanted to know, you know, well, who is doing this and what have the effects of it been? And I realized that the only group that's really put carrying back into their lives at scale are special forces soldiers. So they do this via rucking. And rucking is essentially adding weight to a backpack and walking. It sounds simple, but this is the foundation of special forces training. And it has really morphed them into sort of the fittest band of humans to walk Earth, right? I think a lot of people mistakenly think that special forces training is the crap they see on the Discovery Channel, where it's like, we're going to do some burpees in the surf and get yelled at. That happens, but that's like an hour of 2 weeks. Most of it is rucking. So I traveled down to Jacksonville, Florida, to meet a guy who's a Green Beret, and he started this company called Go Ruck. And they've sort of, they sell these backpacks that they're really beautifully built, so you can use them in a city, but they're designed for rucking. And so he's created this sort of community of people who ruck. And the beauty of rucking is that you're hitting cardio and you're hitting strength in one. People need to do more endurance work. We need to do more strength work. And he sort of describes it as cardio for people who hate running and lifting for people who hate the gym. So running tends to be hard on people's joints. And there's a lot of reasons for that. It's because we sit a lot of the day. Our movement isn't great. We're also relatively heavy humans now because we're just big people now. But rucking doesn't really have that high of an injury rate at all. Yet it has equivalent cardio benefits to running, burns 2 or 3 times the calories of walking, and you're also getting a lot of that strength work in. And it's just, you're doing what your body was built to do. It's really accessible, really easy, really great for you. And especially if, I realize this is professional development, but if you are a woman or if you're a woman listening to this, it's really great for women because it's really great at improving bone density. And falls are one of the main ways that women get in trouble when they're older. You know, you break a hip, you only have a 50% chance of surviving if you're over 65. And rucking tends to really build denser bones, especially for women because they start to lose bone densities.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there. Rule number 5, do different things.
Every day, roads leading to new opportunities are right in front of us, making the commitment to move forward.
Part of recovering from alcohol, for me at least, is realizing that it's doing push-ups in the parking lot, right? Like, I always have to be conscious of that.
What does that mean?
It means it's always in me, right?
That you have the desire to drink.
Yeah. And obviously it fades a lot over time,
And
but
the
like
push-ups in the parking lot are a distraction, or is that a metaphor?
push-ups in the parking lot are a metaphor for what the disease is doing. It's always there, right? It's sort of like, it's not like it just fades away.
Right.
It's ready to come get me.
How in our own selves, there are things that we don't see and understand.
Oh, totally. I mean, I think a big thing for me was, when you get sober, you have to ask yourself some hard questions about why did you drink the way you drank, And I think that for me, I think part of it is genetic. You look at my family line and, the men in my family, we got jail and prison records a mile long, and it's just always been that way. So I think that there is something genetic. But I also think that, that gene doesn't necessarily bloom unless you give it enough alcohol. So, having to ask those hard questions. And I think that going through the process of getting sober, it's sort of like compared to like unpeeling an onion about yourself. It's like more will be revealed, but you have to kind of go out and do different things that challenge you, that challenge your worldview in a lot of different ways, because by never putting yourself in a position where you are uncomfortable, whether that is physically or mentally or with, what you think to be true, you're not going to learn anything about yourself. Right. And I think that in today's age, it's a lot easier to never be forced out of your comfort zone. Now, physically, that's very obvious, right? I mean, you could take 1,000 steps a day and live today.
Rule number 6, live fully.
When you look at a lot of people don't embrace discomfort, it's like, well, it's not shocking. It's like, well, why the would you? You've got 2.5 million years of evolution telling you don't be uncomfortable. That's a dumb idea. Your brain is screaming at you not to. So there needs to be this moment where you have this realization and tipping point that like, oh, always leaning into comfort is causing a problem in my life. And I have to push back against that. Because if you don't, you're just going to keep slipping. And we're seeing that with what's happening in society right now. I mean, just take the epidemic of obesity. I mean, that is the number one driver of health problems, of chronic disease. It's like people today, we might be living longer than ever on average, but are we actually living? Like, there's a difference between lifespan and health span. If you really want to live a full life, you're not going to look back at your life and be like, wow, I'm so glad that I watched Netflix and ate Domino's every night. Like, you're going to look back at your life at the end of it and be like, man, I did some pretty rad shit. I did Spartan events. I climbed mountains. I did X, Y, and Z. Like, you need to reinsert these sort of metaphorical lions back in your life if you really want to live fully and be healthy as well.
Rule number 7, get a balance.
We are now healthier in some ways, but not others. So for example, we don't get communicable diseases, but we do suffer from chronic diseases that were literally non-existent until like the last 100 years. So the top killers
of obesity, right?
Yeah. So things like heart disease, certain cancers, chronic lung diseases. These are all things that weren't really around until we made our world a lot more comfortable. So like, yes, we're living longer. The things that have really helped us live longer, though, are not all these new crazy medical technologies. Those have helped. But people really started living longer after we started washing our hands relatively regularly, after we got clean water treatment, after we started treating sewage. I mean, these are all very basic public health things. So I think that what has happened is that we've tipped the balance a little too far, right? There's this sweet spot. So if you think of it like a U-shaped curve where, you know, really, really rough tumble, those maybe aren't good for us. We don't maybe live as long. But then when we get to the other side, if we are really sanitary and really safe and really whatever, that seems to hurt our physical and mental health. It's like, yes, we live longer now, but are we really, quote unquote, living, you know, in a lot of ways? I think off the top of my head, how we over medicalize everything nowadays. So you look at our medical spending and how, you know, if anyone has this ailment, we tend to treat it, whether or not that treatment is actually going to be beneficial and help us live longer. So I think it's like a quarter of all medical spending goes to people who are essentially, we know they're on their last month or two of life, but we just kind of want to keep them alive for what reasons we're not quite sure, just because that seems like a good idea. You know, so I think it's really,
I'll tell you what I think it is. Rule number 8, do hard things.
Planning to buy a home? You'll receive 1% cash.
This myth of Misogi, there's this guy, Izanagi, and his wife dies and she descends into the underworld. They're both gods in the Shinto faith. And he can't live without her. So he decides, I'm going down into the underworld. I'm going into hell. I'm going to save my wife. Now he gets down there and it's hell. It's perilous. There's like all these, you know, in the story it talks about there's all these demons that like grab at him or trying to keep him down. And then he has to escape. It's kind of a somewhat sad story because he gets down there and he realizes that his wife has now become a demon. But now he's like, okay, I got to get back to the normal world, right? Because he's going to die down there. So he has to make this like fantastic escape up through the underworld. He doesn't think he's going to make it. He faces these like real trials, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, all that stuff. But he makes it out. And when he gets out, he goes under this waterfall. And this waterfall is this act of purification. So it's your basic hero's myth, right? And you see these hero's myths throughout time and space. Joseph Campbell identified a lot of them. And what they all are, they have a basic formula. And that is the hero leaves the comfort of home. They go into this trying middle ground. And in that middle ground, they really struggle, they battle, they face demons, dragons, all these different things. But they make it out. And by making it out, they become a new person. They reach a stage of enlightenment. They realize something about themselves and their potential, right? So you see this kind of story throughout time and space. One of these guys that I meet and talk about in the book is named Marcus Elliott. So one thing to know about him is he's a little far out. You know, he went to Burning Man like back in the day when it was this little weird thing in the desert. I mean, that's like the ultimate mark of someone who's a little bit of a seeker, right? But he's also brilliant. He went to Harvard, got his MD. He decides he doesn't want to be a standard doctor. He wants to get into sports science. He wants to revolutionize the field. This is in the early 2000s. And he pretty much does. So he kicks around with a few different teams, helps the Patriots win some championships. And then he opens his own facility. And it's, long story short, it's really based on like big data, biometrics. They're looking at how people move, putting it in algorithms. I mean, it's kind of the future. So he's really smart, really number centric. But back to that idea that he's, you know, a little bit of a seeker. He also understands that what really improves human performance and potential, you can't always measure that stuff, right? It's like, why is it sometimes that there's like this NBA player who, you know, maybe isn't the buffest on the court or doesn't look the fittest, but just has this gear in their brain where they can go, oh, clutch time? Yeah, give me the ball. We got this, right? Like, what is that? So to get to these sort of intangibles, they do this thing called Misogi, and it's based on that ancient myth. So once a year, These guys, it'll be Marcus, handful of other people. Some of them are, pro athletes at the highest level. Some of them are like successful artists, doctors, just random motley mix of people. They'll go out and they'll do something super hard in nature. And it's usually something a little bit wacky. So one year they get this 85-pound boulder and they walk it 5 miles underneath the Santa Barbara Channel. They've also done stuff like they don't really know how to stand up paddleboard, but we're going to stand up paddleboard like a ton of miles, right? Now, there are only 2 rules to Misogi. Rule number 1 is that it has to be really hard. And they define that really hard by saying you have a true 50% chance of making it. So nowadays, we tend to take on challenges where we're like, I'm going to do this. And if we think we can't, what do? We train for like months until we're like 90% confident we're going to make it, right? No, this is like, we're not training. This is, I don't know if we're going to be able to do this. Let's go see if we can do it. And then rule number 2 is that you can't die. And that one's pretty straightforward. And it's really mimicking that idea of the hero's myth, where it's like we're throwing ourselves into this zone of discomfort where we don't know if we can do this. And while they're out there, it's like you're going to reach this, you're going to see this edge. You're like, I can't do this anymore. There's no way we're going to be able to finish this. Like, I'm spent. Let's get ready to tap out. But by putting one foot in front of the other or continuing to paddle or whatever it is, you get beyond that edge. And then you can look back and be like, well, wait a minute here. I'm looking back at what I thought was my edge. And like, I've obviously sold myself short here, right? Like I had an inaccurate measurement of my potential. And then it's like, well, what else am I selling myself short in life, right? So it makes you answer some hard questions.
Rule number 9, use the survival advantage.
So there's these 2 professors at Harvard, and they're traveling to a conference, right? And they're in line for TSA. They're looking at TSA. What does TSA do? The beepers go off, and they're like, they think that this banana that you've packed in your bag is a Beretta. So they're going to tear that damn thing apart. They frisk some old woman who can't see or walk because there's like a half-filled bottle of water. They're just always looking for problems. And so they wonder if all of a sudden, like the scanners never went off, ever. Everyone just obeyed the TSA rules 100%. What would they do? Would people just sail through without problems? And they didn't think so. Because the TSA's job is to find problems. They thought they would start searching for problems even when the problems don't exist. So they do a study because they're these Harvard psychologists. They got a question, right? So now it's time to do a study. They get a bunch of people and they show them 800 different faces. And the people have one job, and that is to determine whether the faces they are looking at are threatening or non-threatening. Seemingly very black or white, right? So they start showing them these faces, so you go threatening, non-threatening, threatening, threatening, non-threatening. But after about the 200th face, they start showing people fewer and fewer threatening faces. They did a similar thing, and it was, they would have them read research proposals, and they would say, is this ethical or unethical, what these researchers are proposing? Same deal. After about the 50th or 100th proposal, they started giving them fewer and fewer unethical proposals. So you would think that, if we really saw black and white, this is like a clear judgment of like, does this person make me feel threatened? Or does this research proposal cross this like moral line in the sand that I have drawn and I am firm on? Then they would start saying threatening less times. They would start saying, ethical more times, right? As the thing went on. That didn't actually happen. The ratio stayed the exact same. So they basically started saying that faces that were seemingly non-threatening were threatening, and that research proposals that they would have deemed ethical were unethical. So this basically showed that as humans face fewer and fewer problems in our lives, we don't actually experience fewer problems. We just redefine what a problem is. And it's because as the world has gotten better, so think back even in 100 years, we've got climate control now. We've got cars. We've got cell phones. We've got all the streets are paved. How many people listening to this podcast work on a farm for a living and go out there and till it all day? Not many. right? You probably sit behind a desk. You're pretty safe, right? The world has clearly gotten better. But we don't actually see that because our brain has this low-level mechanism that's always running to find the next problem. And this made sense in our past because if you're a hunter-gatherer and you don't know where your food is coming from, you're not quite sure about shelter tonight, life is actually dangerous. If you can just focus on problems all the time, that's going to give you a survival advantage. But in today's world, where arguably there's still problems in the world, don't get me wrong, but I think that overall, things are pretty good. We don't actually see that.
And rule number 10, the last one before some very special bonus clips, is be happy.
I traveled to Bhutan, which is this country right next to Nepal in India. And it's a really interesting place because it is one of the least developed countries on earth. It's measured by GDP. There's not a stoplight in the country. That'll kind of give you a sense there, you know?
Sure, yeah. In the entire country. I mean, I grew up in a town without a stoplight, but you're talking about the entire country now.
Talking about the entire country. Yep,
right.
The entire country. There's no outside businesses. There's not like Wendy's or Starbucks or McDonald's or any of that. But what's interesting is they consistently rank in the top 20 happiest countries on earth. They consistently rank really high in happiness rankings, usually in the top 20. And part of the reason for this, they think there's a lot of stuff going on, but is that they are a lot more aware of their own mortality. So in Bhutan, people are told to think about their death every day, anywhere from 1 to 3 times. There's these reminders that you're going to die across the country. So things like their cultural art and things like dances center around death. There's all these little clay pyramids that are mixed with clay and ashes of the dead that are like everywhere.
Really?
Right. Yeah. And when I say everywhere, I mean, they're in every windowsill, like they are along roadsides. They're just everywhere. So it's this constant reminder. And, when I was there, I met with a lot of different people sort of thinking about this, but I met with this guy who's really high up in the Buddhist faith. And he lives like basically in a shack next to this monastery. And me and my driver, you have to hire a driver there. We drive up this like dirt cliff road, and it's this crazy drive. And I get there and this guy lives in like a shack with, really not much in it. And I get in there and he's a Buddhist monk. It's like this scene out of like, you would just picture the most cliche scene you can think of, like of a Western writer going to meet this guy,
right? Interesting.
Yeah. And, I talked to him for a long time, and he told me that in the US, a lot of people, not everyone, of course, but we tend to think that items and titles and things like that, and kind of doing the next thing on the list is what is going to make us happy. Right. And we kind of, it's like, oh, once I do this, I'll be happy. Once I buy this, I'll be happy. And when we get those things, we just add more to the list. So we're in this constant chase. And he says, picture that there's a cliff in 500 feet. And we're all walking towards it right now. And that cliff is death. Now you can ignore that, or you can be aware of that. And by being aware of that, it changes your behavior, because all of a sudden you can be like, well, I'm going to pay attention to the beauty around the cliff. I'm going to have different conversations with the people I live with. So by sort of being aware of, your death, it changes people's behavior for the better. And what's really interesting is there is studies in the US that have backed this up, where they will, have people think about death and another group think about something else. And the people who think about their death report being happier, which is like super counterintuitive, right?
Now I've got a special bonus clip that I think you're going to enjoy. But before that, it's time for the question of the day. I want to know, what was your single biggest takeaway from this video and your plan of action for the next week? When you watch a video and just get motivated, the science says you have a 35% chance of actually following through on your goals. That's not good enough. No, not for you, Believe Nation. We got to do something. But when you write it down and you create a specific plan of action for the next week, that number jumps to 91% chance of you following through. And when you commit to somebody else, like leaving a comment on this video, it jumps to 95%. You need to follow through on your goals. So what was your single biggest takeaway from this video and your specific plan of action for the next week? Put it down in the comments below so I can celebrate